Welcome to our new series, the 200 Movie Challenge. Our goal this year is to watch 200 movies that we haven't seen yet. If you want to listen to the full podcast where this clip is from, the link will be in the description. Now enjoy today's movie. So that brings me to my first movie. Now, first of all, last week, I had a hit with Wreck, but then I saw Wreck 2, which was not a hit, and The Hunt. And there's a joke, I've seen a lot of, I don't mind seeing the cheesy movies, and I'm not talking about cheesy good. I'm talking about cheesy bad. You had me see whatever Sharks on the Moon, Shark Side of the Moon, and stuff like that. But I was sitting there, I'm like, I need a movie that makes me feel happy. That just I knew I was at that point in my life or at this point in this, I'm like, I just need something where I can laugh, not think, and just have enjoyment. And I was getting to that point, and don't get me wrong, I know I chose some of those shit movies. I only have myself to blame. So, but I was just like, because there were certain movies I've been wanting to see, or that might be on my list, and I just don't have time. But so anyhow, I knew I could sit down and watch a movie, and so I'm like, I need to be happy. So Soto, I specifically did not go to Tubi. I went to Disney. I went to Disney Plus. I said, I'm going to find a fucking happy movie for me.
Fancy.
Because there is a few. I love cartoons. I love animated movies. I love Pixar. Pixar has done a lot of films well. I love the Toy Story trilogy, Toy Story 4, but that's a different story. And there's a few that I know I'm like, oh, I haven't seen these yet. Maybe I'll see this. Like the fourth Despicable Me. I think the Minions are funny, but this one caught my eye.
There's four.
Yeah, there's four. Well, technically there's more because the Minions had their own movies too.
Oh my god!
And so there's all these others. So anyhow, I was like, I need a fun Pixar movie. And so the first movie I saw for this week, I saw the original God Knows When, but I saw Inside Out 2. I did see the first one a few years. I don't know when I saw it. I know we watched it, so whenever it came out. And for those really quick recap of the first Inside Out, it kind of mixes two stories in one. In a way, it's about this young Riley, who in the first one's kind of like a little girl, but she's becoming 8 or 9, and it's about emotions. It's about, so there's like what's going on, but it's the emotions in your head, and they're played by characters. Do you remember the show Herman's Head? Did you ever watch that show? Do you even know of that show?
Herman's Head, yeah, it was basically like a sitcom inside of a guy's brain.
Correct. That's yes.
Yeah, it was like live action, if I recall.
Correct. And I watched a few of that, and I mean that was more adultish, because one was kind of like, I don't want to say, a little bit of a creep, this and that. One was like the sensitive one, but that's the idea of what this is. There's like joy, there's like anger. And so the first one dealt with like sadness was introduced. And so it's kind of this young girl dealing with, parents and life and stuff like that. It was well done. But it's also dealing with the emotions, joys, cause a lot, kids or babies, there's not a lot of different emotions. And it's the idea of like sadness now being a part of it. And her emotion, Joy, is trying to push the sadness away. It's how this goes, and then obviously she knows it's all part of one. So that's how the first one went. So now the second one, Riley, the young girl, is now becoming a teenager. She's basically a 12-year-old, and we all know what's becoming. So now there's a few new emotions that all of a sudden hit at once. And the main, and I don't want to say antagonist, but it's basically anxiety, who kind of takes over the brain and pushes away the other emotions. We're also introduced to like other ones like embarrassment. But when you're a teen, you're 12, you're 13, especially going into high school, you get all these new things. So what basically it starts off, she plays hockey and she gets to have these tryouts at the high school, but one of her favorite high school players is, there, and, the embarrassment and stuff like that. But the other thing that goes off is all of a sudden, the first set of emotions that we were introduced to are all sleeping. And then all of a sudden, and I hate to say it like this, the puberty button goes off in the brain and they panic. They don't know why. And that's how like all these other emotions come in. And obviously anxiety takes over, and Joy's like, no, we do things my way, it's calm, and it deals with it well. Cause if you think we all have anxiety, Soto, it's not,
sure do.
But you don't want to think it's a bad thing, but when you're young and you don't know how to handle it, so it's the idea. Yeah. It's taken over the brain. It's trying to tell all these other emotions how to do. And in a way it does take control and pushes. So the emotions are having like they're trying to get back to where like the main headquarters is in your brain, just to regroup. So yeah, I love the Inside Out movie. So I mean, because it deals with something we all can relate to. We've all been there, and we're still dealing with it to an extent. Some adults might be dealing with it better, but but
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
to
Because
say the least.
yeah, I mean, but when you're a teen and you're feeling a lot of these things for the first time, it's just like everything sucks. And I
Mhm.
think it also introduces sarcasm and then a very funny joke, which I had to laugh because obviously being older, and you'll enjoy this. Like, so there's this cart, after all these emotions are they're trying to figure out everything. There's like this backdoor closet, and it opens, and this old lady comes out, and she's like, "Remember when we used to?" It's nostalgia, and all the emotions like,
Oh
"No, you're not.
no.
You're not allowed to come in for another 10 years." And I'm like, "Oh, nostalgia's taking over my brain, baby." And I'm like, I
Yeah.
understand that,
Yeah.
but so yes,
Pretty
it's the
great.
emotions dealing with, how to deal with anxiety to not let it take over, but understand that it's going to be a part of you in a way. You know how Pixar movies go. Just gotta
Mhm.
all work together, be happy together, accept one another, and I think that's why Pixar does so many movies right. And I did love the first one, so this was just, and it was good, because like I said, we all can understand what it's like being a teenager. We all dealt with our own shit. And yeah, so she's trying to make this hockey team. Her two best friends, she finds out before like these tryouts, are going to a different school. So she's basically losing that. So it's obviously dealing with that. And then she goes off
Classic.
to, she wants to be part with the not the popular girl, but the star hockey player who she idolizes. So she's pushing aside her friends for that. And so it is a well-told story. Like Soda, I don't think Pixar can really do bad movies. I'm sure they have, and we haven't seen it yet. Maybe, maybe I'm wrong. But I'm sure you've seen obviously the Toy
Yeah.
Story movies. I'm assuming you love. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say love, but you enjoyed them. So
I did, yeah, and I always was a big fan of Pixar, but I kind of lost the plot a little bit of Pixar with like a lot of things in my life, like movies. So I'm interested in like catching up on the ones that I haven't seen. This one in particular, I have not. So it's nice to know that it's available on Disney Plus. So the fancy streaming service.
I don't know if it'd be fancy, but it is, and because it does have Marvel, and we are watching a Marvel one next week. But yeah, no, I
You
mean,
sure?
there isn't much to say. People who, it's Disney, it's Pixar. We understand, the kind of stories they tell. They tell one that does hit your heartstrings a little bit, and because
Mhm.
it is what it is. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I loved the first one. The second one was well done. Good inside jokes for adults, but something that kids can watch as well. But yeah, and obviously, things wrap up in a certain way. Obviously, they kind of figure out, I think anxiety realizes that it can't take over the brain. It's okay, but it's just like, no, that we're going to do this. We're thinking about this. Well, what if this happens? And Joy's just there. Well, what are the odds of that happening? And anxiety's like, but it could. Yeah, but it's not happening. So let's worry about it if that. And you know how it's about
Yeah.
the craziest. Like you think something's going to happen that's almost impossible to happen, but it's still
Hmm.
it's in your brain, and that's just how we
It
deal
is.
with it. So, but
It's
I
super
will say,
protective.
if
Yeah.
you haven't seen the first one, at least check out the first one. Like,
Hmm.
it is worth checking out. It may not be the best Pixar movie. Like, it's hard to go up against like Toy Story, but like I said, it was fun. Yes, it is formulatic. We know how it's going to end. A lot of Pixar movies don't end in sadness for the most part. But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this a lot. But the question is,
Wow.
so it's because again, I did like the first one. But anyhow, the question is, as we rank all this shit, where does this go on my list? And
Really
so
liked it.
I did, and it is gonna definitely be top 20.
Okay. Feels like it. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. All right. At the moment, at the moment,
Mhm.
because this could change after I think about it. We change
Yes.
things a lot, but this feels
As we
like a
know.
good spot at the moment. I'm putting this at 16. So this is going to go under Colossal and above Mulan, the
Wow.
live action Mulan. Because I'm looking on, like, I really like Coherence. I thought that was a good story. I like Colossal. Those are very good stories, more adultish.
Mhm.
Yeah, this seems like a good spot. I'm liking it.
Inside Out too. Okay.
As we
Yep.
say in all these freaking things, it could change, but I kind of feel confident in that spot, at the moment. But yeah, no, definitely a
Yeah.
top 20 from a lot of what I've seen this year. And again, I won't say enough. A lot of the Pixar movies are just good. And I kind of just wanted a feel good movie. And I did. It was happy. It made me laugh. I was just there and made me realize, God, yeah, I remember being a teen and doing stupid shit and probably embarrassing my friends to impress someone else and realizing why the fuck did I do that? Because
All the time.
unfortunately,
All the time.
even as adults, sometimes you don't think about it but you think about it afterwards. So, the Inside Out movies definitely have a good story. And like I said, it's something that adults can watch, but I think it's something that kids can enjoy as well. So like I said, if you got time, Soto, I'm not saying you have to do it for this, but if you're looking for a good Pixar movie, like I said, I enjoyed these both, and I'm glad. Like I said, I just need something to make me feel happy and get a good laugh, and I figured why not Disney? Because man, I've seen a lot of shit, and we'll get to some
Yeah.
shit in the next two, but we won't talk about
Yeah.
that yet. So. But yeah, no, definitely. I would say check it out, Soto. Like I said, if you got time, whether again this year, next year, but it's on Disney Plus, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was good, and that's all I can say.
As it
There's
shouldn't
not,
be. I like the concept. The
no, it's
concept sounds pretty cool.
but it's funny. I remember Herman's Head, and I've talked to people about this, and I remember one person said to me, she's like, "God, wasn't that like a disgusting thing?" And I thought about it a little bit because again, there's one guy that's kind of a slob that I hate to say because mind you, I think this was late '80s, maybe early '90s. I'm not going to
It didn't last. It didn't last long. I think it
no,
was
I
maybe
think it
a
was only
season.
two seasons. Maybe it was just one season. It was not, but I remember, and I know my dad allowed me to watch so much shit that I probably shouldn't have seen. But yeah, there's one guy that was very
Same.
big, kind of that way towards women, just like, oh yeah, come here, but and it was meant to be adultish, and I always remember him. I don't remember much about the show, a couple scenes maybe. Maybe something I should have watched when I was an early teen, but I always remember that's what reminds me of Inside Out a little bit because obviously it's not just what's going on in your life, but it's how your emotions are handling it and talking to each other in your head. And it's hilarious. I actually
Yeah.
liked it, but
It's
yeah,
funny.
it is.